Welcome back. I'm Dr. Cheek and I'm a licensed clinical psychologist. And today I want to talk a little bit about some of the stressors that a lot of us may have been feeling, some of the heaviness that a lot of us may have been feeling for a while now, some of that feeling of maybe doom and gloom or some level of depression that we feel like in this moment we can't shake. And as a therapist and as a psychologist, I want to be the first to say that we feel it too. We are not immune to feeling the heaviness of this current moment, of this current environment, of what seems like a constant cycle of negativity. Now, one of the positives, or one of the upsides in most cases, is that as a therapist, we have the strategies in order to be able to manage or handle this moment. And today I want to talk a little bit about what are some of the things you may be experiencing in this moment of heaviness, and some ways you may be able to not necessarily alleviate that feeling, but to be able to manage and better handle those feelings. So some of the things that you may be feeling in this moment are, it may be a feeling of a depressed mood with the desire to engage with your external environment, with a desire to connect with individuals, but a limited motivation to do so. Or is a depressed mood with a desire to engage and with a desire to connect, but the mere thought of going out and having the possibility of encounter any level of negativity seems to be overwhelming, which tends to diminish your likelihood of going out and do those things, because there is some likelihood that you may run into an environment that continues to promote this negativity that we're seeing. You may run into situations where you feel like you may not be able to manage because you're already feeling some level of depression or sadness or overwhelmingness or heaviness of this current moment. Another way that you may be feeling that heaviness in this moment is trying to find some level of calm in the chaos, but every day seems like something new happens. It seems like there is some new obstacle to look out for. There is some new challenge that we're going to have to face as a society or as an individual in your own life circumstances. It seems like on a daily basis, it feels like something new is happening that is going to be something that we have to deal with, that is going to be challenging in some way. And having that constant level of uncertainty, having that consistent level of daily stressors or daily challenges or daily negative news cycles, even if you're apolitical, you may still feel some of the effect of the things that are happening on a daily basis. It can feel so anxiety provoking because there is so much uncertainty about what will happen the next day. There's almost this underlying feeling of what's going to happen tomorrow. And it's almost this desire to just say, can we have a day? Can we have one day where there's nothing chaotic happening, where there's no new challenge, there is no new thing that we're having to now deal with as a society. There are no individuals that we feel like we need to protect as a society. Can we simply have one day where we can just exist and not feel like this constant pressure of something dreadful may be happening? And that's that heaviness sometimes that we're feeling in this moment. It feels like this constant cycle of chaos. Even if you do disconnect at times, when you check back in, it seems like it's never ending. And that's a reality of this moment. You also may be feeling some level of helplessness because of that uncertainty. Not necessarily hopelessness, because for most of us, there's still some level of optimism about what could potentially happen, what we can change, what we can implement, the things we can put in place to make this moment feel a little bit more manageable and not as dreadful as it has the possibility or the capability of being. But there are some things that we truly feel helpless about because we, in these moments, don't know what we can do to affect any level of change. Because there are a lot of things that are happening in this moment that feel and are truly outside of the realm of our individual control. Collectively, we may be able to affect some change, but on that individual level, there does not feel like that there are a lot of areas that we can make change strategies that would have a significant impact. So now that I've highlighted all of the ways you may be feeling some level of heaviness or overwhelmingness in this moment, let's take some time to kind of think about some things we can do to help with this moment. Now, this may not be truthfully a time to focus on coping strategies. And I'm talking about coping strategies in the way that we tend to see coping strategies. We tend to see coping strategies as symptom management. So let me do some grounding strategies. Let me check on my 5 senses. Let me do some paced breathing or diaphragmatic breathing. Let me do some of those things that alleviate those symptoms in the moment. This may not be a moment for that because in most cases, we're not feeling these high level of emotions. What it may feel like in this moment is the constant low level of emotion, of negative emotions that continue over an extended period of time. So we're not always feeling keyed up or on edge, but we feel like there is some underlying negative emotions that continue to happen. There is some underlying dread or negativity that is continuing to be very pervasive in this moment. And how do we handle that? It's coping. It's coping in that we may have to engage in some problem solving. So what this may look like is you may need to make sure that you are ensuring that your basic needs are met. So you're getting adequate food, you're getting adequate sleep, you're taking care of your personal hygiene, you're getting your hair cut, you're making sure you are doing regular maintenance for yourself, you're getting showers. I know it seems odd to kind of think about, but sometimes when we're in a depressed mood and so many things feel uncertain, we stop taking care of those basic needs, and personal hygiene is one of those basic needs. And at the same time, it may be also helpful for you to implement a routine, a morning routine that gets your day started on a more positive or more neutral note that may look like not connecting into social media until you've had your morning coffee or your breakfast, or until you feel mentally ready to kind of check into social media. If that's something you have to do for work, maybe planning out what time of the day you're going to take some time to do that so you aren't overwhelmed and bombarded with the social media or the negative news cycles as soon as you wake up. It may look like you taking a moment to, if you don't have to engage in social media because it's not a part of your day-to-day life and it's not a requirement for your day-to-day life, it may look like taking a break from social media. It may look like taking a break from watching the 24-hour news cycle. It may look like only watching news for an hour a day. Whatever that routine looks like, get into a morning routine that gets your day started off on a more positive or neutral footing so it can set the tone for the remainder of your day to some extent. Also, you may want to try implementing a bedtime routine. How do I start to unwind? How do I start to take some time to maybe process the things that have happened for the day, maybe set some time aside to kind of focus on the things that I'm worried about, give myself time to spend some time to worry about those things, write down some of those things I'm worried about so I'm not constantly going over these worry notes in my head, but I have them somewhere that I can kind of come back to and focus on if I need to focus on them, or just getting it out of my mind so it's not something that's bombarding my thought process while I'm trying to fall asleep. So getting a nighttime routine or a bedtime routine as an adult is a reason it works for kids. It kind of works for adults too. So if you have a bedtime routine, a wind down routine that kind of helps slow your mind, your heart, calm your body, calm your mind so you're able to fall asleep and get a restful night's sleep will definitely be helpful. Along those same lines, it may be helpful to get active and or activated. Active meaning start to engage in like a workout routine. Get more physically active. It's the summer months, so in most states or in most places, the sun is out till maybe 9 p.m. at night. So there is a lot of time to get out and do some things. Get out in nature, going to the gym, working out with family, working out with friends, forming a walk group, forming a hiking group where you go on trails, getting involved at your local recreational centers or your local YMCAs, doing something more active and getting those natural feel-good hormones activated within your body. Also, it may be a time to get activated. And when I say activated, it may be a time to look for healthy ways to engage in this process so you can feel like you have some level of input or engagement in the things that make you feel helpless. So that might look like joining organizations that already has done the groundwork, that's already put in some effort. So you don't have to spend the time trying to recreate the wheel. So being able to tap into those organizations so you feel like you are putting added value back into your community and you feel like you have some input into what's happening in this current moment so it can relieve some of that heaviness that you may be feeling on a daily basis. And it also may be a good time to laugh. Life is serious enough. Life is not going to stop being serious and sometimes dreadful simply because we continue to take this overly serious approach to it. Life is going to remain serious. There are going to always be things that we need to tap into and kind of lock into and be serious about. But sometimes there is a reason why laughter is great medicine, because being able to take a moment to have some lightheartedness, to find some levity in certain situations, to find some levity in life is actually helpful. To take a moment to give your mind a rest as it relates to trying to figure out how to make things better in the moment. Sometimes we just need to laugh at or find something to lighten our thought process, find something to uplift what we're thinking about. If it's not laughing, it may be spirituality, it may maybe learning a new trade, whatever that lightheartedness, whatever that free spirited, free mind, free thinking activity is, be willing to engage in it, because you checking out for a moment or for an hour or two does not take away from the seriousness of this moment. You will still have the seriousness to deal with once you've been able to give yourself that break, but now you'll have maybe additional bandwidth to be able to deal with that seriousness. And lastly, what may be definitely helpful is for you to reach out to supports, to individuals that you feel comfortable sharing your thoughts with, bouncing some of your ideas off of, being a sounding board, being someone you vent to, being someone you just yell with, because you both have the same perspective of this current moment, and you can have that moment and have each other to kind of lean on in those moments. And I want to highlight, make sure that the person that you're reaching out to has the capacity. And the reason why I highlight this is because sometimes we have this idea that because someone does not have the capacity to be there for us for whatever reason, they may be dealing with their own sort of stressors, they may be dealing with things in their own life, whatever the reason is that they do not have the capacity to be a source of support for us, does not mean that they do not care about you, does not mean that they don't desire to be a source of support for you. It just means that they don't have the capacity. So make sure that you have maybe one or more individuals in your life that you can lean on for sources of support, just in case one or the other does not have the capacity at that time. Make sure you reach out for support from those who have the capacity to offer that support. So what I hope you take from today's conversation is this. Even as a therapist, we are not immune. I am not immune to the heaviness and the overwhelming sense of dread and the constant negativity that seems to be very pervasive in our current environment. I'm not immune to it. There are days that I struggle. There are days that I'm able to deal with the stress. Thankfully, for most of us, we have the skill set necessary to manage the heaviness or the stressfulness of this current moment. And there are things that you may be feeling: depressed mood, overwhelming dread, a desire to engage, but fear of running into more negativity. You may feel helplessness or disconnected from the environment because everything feels so very uncertain in this moment. And from one day to the next, things can change so drastically. And that can feel unsettling for most, if not all of us. So some of the things we've talked about in this videos as ways to handling this moment is by finding supports, by getting active and activated, by making sure you take care of your basic needs, by taking a moment to kind of relax and to allow yourself to get a break from the seriousness of this moment, so you're able to build up that reserve so you can continue to do the work that you want to do as it relates to dealing with everything that you have to deal with, even with the constant uncertainty. So I know that this feels like a hard time for most of us. It's not necessarily a hard time for all of us. So if this is a hard time for you, if this has been a hard time for you, take some time to follow some of these strategies to see if it's something that can be helpful for you, to see if you're able to continue to find that motivation to continue to move forward in this current moment. As always, I hope you take something from this video that has been helpful. Please jot down any thoughts, questions, or comments you have below. I thank you for taking the time to listen, and I'll be seeing you again very soon. Thank you.